Do you wonder how to pair wine and spicy foods? What happens when you turn up the heat in a dish? How does that affect the wine? That's exactly what we're going to learn from our guests tonight on the Sunday Sipper Club. Welcome, everybody. I'm Natalie MacLean, editor of Canada's largest wine review site at nataliemaclean.com, and you're here live with me on Facebook, YouTube livestream, and Twitter via Periscope, where we gather every Sunday at 6 p.m. to talk to the most intriguing people in the wine and food world. Now, before I introduce our guests, I would like to know if you actually do find it difficult to pair wine and spicy food. Give me a yes or a no right in the comments below. Do you find this one of the hardest pairings to make? And I'm also going to make sure that everybody can hear and see us. And let me just... Alan Cameron has joined us from Ottawa. He's going to look for some wine soon. Good evening. Good. Guys, I hope you can hear and see. Let us know if there's any problem with the tech tonight. All right. And remember, you want to share this video as well. So, our guests this evening worked together to create one of Canada's best restaurants, renowned for both its food and wine. Celebrity chef and author Vikram Vij has created or written numerous, best-selling cookbooks, and he has been on hit shows such as Chopped, Top Chef, and Dragon's Den. He's also the first Indian chef to earn a sommelier degree. Head sommelier Sean Nelson also joins us tonight, and he became Western Canada's youngest advanced sommelier graduate in 2016 and is now working toward a coveted master sommelier designation. And they join me live now from the restaurant in Vancouver. Welcome, Vikram and Sean.
Namaste, everybody.
Hi, Natalie.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much. This has been such a popular topic already in just the promotions. Now, I've just shared some of the top line details of both your backgrounds. Maybe you could take a moment to fill in some of the details that I missed. Maybe starting with you, Vikram?
Well, to be honest with you, before I became a chef and a sommelier, I actually wanted to be a Bollywood actor.
Okay. Excellent.
And my father said, no son of mine is going to become an actor. I said, hey, I should become a chef. Because he doesn't realize it, that when the chefs open their doors at 5:30, it is our stage. We are performing. We are entertaining. We are laughing. We are making so much fun and having a great conversation. That is theater.
That is great. I love that you've associated filmmaking with the theater of the table. I mean, Vikram, that's exactly my partner and I. It's like we debated for many years, should we go to the ballet or whatever? We'd never have enough time with it. You know what? Our theater is right here in the restaurant. We love it. So I love that you view it that way as well. And Sean, what can you fill in for us?
And that's so funny too, because I, at one point as well, also wanted to be an actor. I went to film school. I did a theater degree. And at the time I was working in restaurants, and I was making excuses for not going and doing acting, saying that I was on stage at the restaurant. I was practicing my craft. But I fell in love with the hospitality industry and continued down that path until I got to where I am today through numerous steps and growing as a sommelier and as a hospitality professional.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard such good things. I cannot wait to actually go to your restaurant, but it's just renowned. It's it's everybody speaks so highly of it. And I love the fact that you're top of your game in your cuisine and you take wine so seriously. I mean, you have fun with it, but you also really value wine and your wine list and so on. You were recognized, I think, by, was it Wine Enthusiast, Wine Spectator? Wine Enthusiast,
yeah.
Yes, for your restaurant list. And of course, the Vancouver Wine Festival has awarded you, has recognized the work you do with your food and wine pairing. So that's pretty amazing. So, wow. Okay. So we are going to get into some very specific wine and food pairings tonight.
Okay.
But before we do that, we always love to hear some stories. I'm just going to go over to Facebook and make sure everybody's good over there and can hear and see us. And I will see, welcome Beverly and Alan and Anne and Rochelle. Everybody's coming in the virtual door here on Facebook into our little wine bar, our virtual vidges tonight. So let me just make sure, and all is good. Okay, so let's talk about first kind of your the exact moment that you realized. Sean, we'll throw it to you again first this time, that you wanted to be a sommelier, or at least to work in the wine industry, wine, hospitality, food.
Well, I started my career in the hospitality industry at the Keg Steakhouse, which I'm sure a lot of our viewers know, very prominent steakhouse chain in Canada. So I worked there for a number of years as a dishwasher, busser, bartender, server, worked my way up, and you reach a certain point when it's just not enough. I needed more. I needed to learn more. I needed to be mentored more. So I went seeking other places to work, and I found a Four Diamond seafood restaurant in White Rock, where I grew up, that was looking for staff, and I worked under the owner and the sommelier there, and I learned a lot. And I remember one night, the manager, the owner, was walking through the restaurant, and he saw a bottle of 1998 Leonetti Merlot from Washington State that was in the cellar. And there was a little bit of a leak coming from the top of the bottle. He could see wine dripping up the top. So he's like, "We can't sell it. We've got to open it. We should drink it." So myself and our wine director and the owner went into the office, and we opened this bottle, and I tasted it, and I was blown away. I didn't know wine could taste like that. I didn't know wine could do the things that did. And it was a light bulb. From that point on, I was like, I have to do this.
You're hooked.
More about wine. I was hooked. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Great. And Vikram, I'm coming right to you. I'm just going to welcome JP D'Entremont's here. Hello. Looking forward to the conversation. Jim Clark has joined us. Hello. Lise Gagne. Gentlemen, what's in your glass right now? We're going to get to that, Lise. Murray Johnson says, good snowy evening. Carrie McDonald is here. I love Washington wines. And, I'm going to not pronounce this correctly, so feel free to put your pronunciation in here. Deandra Mianger.
Deeran. Good to see you.
Deeran, thank you. Deeran is here. There was a comment about new wines with spicy food. Perhaps Sean can talk about Albarino from Uruguay and spicy food. We are going to get to that for sure.
Sure we will.
So, Vikram, do you remember the moment exactly you knew you wanted to cook, to be a chef, to be in the food world?
Well, I as I said, I wanted to be an actor. Yes. So my grandfather every day, would drink a bottle of scotch, and he would say to me, "Come and sit on my lap." And I would go and sit on his lap, and he would say, "When you open up a restaurant, I would like to be the bartender of your restaurant, so he could drink for free." So ever since my young age, I had this thing in my head that I wanted to open up a restaurant from my grandfather. Now, obviously, Scotch being an Indian or a British drink that was used a lot, I decided to go to Austria to study and become a chef. When I went to Austria to become a chef, I realized that hard liquor was just as a drink that you had so that you could either have it beforehand or at the end. But with the food, it was the Gruner Veltliners, it was the Zweigel, it was the Blaufränkisch that were like really beautiful, paired really well. And obviously at that time, Burgundy was such a big deal, whether it was the Pinot Noir or the Chardonnays. And Bordeaux. So I loved that whole wine culture, and that sitting there, that, when the amuse-bouche comes, you have a glass of bubble. And then when, the foie gras comes, then you have a little bit of sauterne with it. So that matching of food and pear, I almost used to feel that this is like a match, made in heaven. We are just here to enjoy it on this earth.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. I just wish you would I was talking about this with Sean earlier, but I wish you would open a restaurant here in Ottawa. But we need that kind of that care for the wine list with different cuisines, even where perhaps a wine industry and wine growing wasn't traditional, where the cuisine grew up from. But it's just marvelous. Okay, and Mark Lay is here. I think most people think of beer as the default when eating spicy food. I love Gewürztraminer and a full-bodied red like Shiraz. I look forward to hearing your thoughts on this. Excellent. And Rick Dalderis, any wine recommendations from India? That's interesting. Do you have any wines from India on your list?
Well, we don't have any wines on the list right now.
Okay.
But I'll be honest with you, I was so impressed. 40 years ago, I decided to go on an India wine culinary, and there's a place called Nasik, which is outside of Bombay, that produces beautiful wines. So Sula is one of them. His name is Rajiv Samant. I've known him for years, and he does a fantastic job of, having great Sauvignon Blancs in Chenin. And I was just in India, and all I drank was Sula because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to support the wine country there. And I was the first one who brought the method Champenoise. He had originally done it. It was beautiful. Now, is it a perfect champagne? No. Was it a perfect sparkling white? No. But it was really, really good. And it was from my own country.
There you go.
Wow, that's great. So is the industry growing pretty quickly there?
Hugely. Every top hotel, every top restaurant is serving really, really good wines and really promoting Indian wines because they are changing, they are working out. And a lot of these Indian winemakers have actually spent more time at University of Davis, California. They've been to different parts of the world. So their understanding of culture is that wine is supposed to be not just for the sophisticated, but for everyday drinking. And I noticed this a lot this time, that so many great restaurants are serving so many great wines and at proper temperature and with proper stem rate.
That's important.
Huh. Wow. Yeah. So, okay. So you cottoned on to that early, though. Your background speaks to why you're so passionate about wine, but was there anything else prompting you to, especially in the Vancouver market, to open this restaurant, but to really have wine as almost as important as the food?
Well, before that, I worked at a restaurant called Rain City Grill, which served beautiful Pacific Northwest wines. And at that time, my manager was Peter Walter Rod, who was a great teacher and a mentor to me. So what I did was, I said, when I opened the restaurant up, I said, I'm going to only have 5 whites and 5 reds. That's it. I was going to have a huge wine list. And to be honest with you, I didn't really have the money to buy a huge amount of wine list. So I bought 4 whites and 5 whites, and I would go to the liquor store every morning and buy 4 or 5 bottles of white, 4 or 5 bottles of reds, and I would just keep them at the back. And that's how my love for wine started. Now, after 2 or 3 years of having the restaurant, I realized that if I really wanted to talk about wine seriously, even though I knew it, I needed to challenge the sommelier program in order to get there. And I challenged it. I did fail the first time. I'll be the first one to say it because of the essays. But I came back and I rewrote my exam and I got my degree.
Fantastic.
Now, having said that, the point was to pair food with wine, not just Indian food with wine, because that was the cuisine that I was serving.
Right. Fantastic. Kathy Nelson says, good wine wins the day. Raul Momo from Princeton, New Jersey. Hello. And he loves Riesling chilled with spicy food. Kathleen Marsh, Grandma and Grandpa are from Portland, Oregon, are watching too. Kathleen Marsh. Okay, so we've got some family.
I've got some family on
The
there.
cheerleaders here. That's always fantastic. And folks, if I'm missing your comments, they're going by quickly. I can only see 5 at a time, and then Facebook disappears them until the full recording is done. So post again if I haven't acknowledged or you have a question that I missed. If you're watching the replay, you can still post questions. We welcome that. And please take a moment to share this video. We will be at the end of this session announcing last week's winner. That's based on people who share the video and make a comment. We're drawing for a personally signed book of Laura Werland's book on cheeses that we talked to Laura last week. Yeah, she's a wonderful guest. And this week, Vikram and Sean are offering one of Vikram's cookbooks. It's the original one, is it?
This is one of the books that I just wrote about the memoir.
Okay.
This is the original one, which is called Elegant and Inspired.
Nice.
This is the first cookbook that Meeru wrote. It took us 3 years to write this cookbook.
Wow, fantastic. So can imagine having that cookbook, folks. So get sharing and let your friends know, because this is a really interesting conversation. Everybody's going to learn a lot about pairing wine and spicy food. Lou Michel has got a glass of Saint Laurent walled garden from Pfaffel, an Austrian wine. Very nice.
Gorgeous.
Okay, absolutely. Now, Vikram, with all your television experience, Dragon's Den, Top Chef, Chopped, did wine play much of a role in any of those shows with the food and wine? I guess maybe not Dragon's Den, but was there any component of wine in those shows?
Well, when you do Top Chef or when you do Chopped Canada, even though there is no wine served at the time, as a chef, you always imagine what would this dish taste like or look like. Or you play games with yourself and say, hey, how would I pair this dish with what kind of wine do you do? So it's something that you do it automatically as a fun thing to do to yourself. And I would take notes down and say, oh, I would pass this on. I would have this with the German Riesling, or I would have this with a Chenin Blanc from South Africa, just because you know that you play these games with yourself. And it's something that it keeps you exciting.
Sure, absolutely. And Theandra says, Summerhill Pyramid Winery, Stephen Sipes Rosé for a rainy day in Vancouver. Excellent. And Carrie McDonald is loving your choices. Okay, so now maybe before again, we're getting to those pairings, and Sam Hawk, you got to tell me how to pronounce your last name, Sam. He is in BC and he teaches wine classes. Welcome, Vikram and Sean. Vikram has done so much for promoting BC wines, and I'm always happy to attend events where he is speaking. So Sam is he teaches at one of the culinary schools. Yeah. Okay, so welcome, Sam. All right, but more storytelling first. Vikram, let's go to the worst moment of your career so far. Not so far. I shouldn't be like predicting doom, like there's going to be many more. No. What's been the worst moment of your food career or cooking career?
You have embarrassing moments. I don't think they're worst moments, they're embarrassing moments.
Sure.
And one of the most embarrassing moments to me was I had just opened the restaurant up and a friend of mine gave me a nice bottle of red wine to enjoy. It was like a form of saying thank you very much for your friendship and good luck. So I put the wine in the wine cellar or the wine room, and I forgot about it because I was so busy running around. I think probably a few months later, he came into the restaurant and he says, Vikram, just pick me a bottle of wine. Now, I didn't realize.
I can see where this is going. Yeah.
I took that bottle of wine and I went up to the table. And then I saw his face and I realized, this is the wine that he gave me. So I recovered back very quickly by saying, you gave me this bottle of wine and I'm here to drink it with you.
Oh, nice recovery.
It was a recovery that happened and I was like, I felt so relieved, because I realized, because I was going to say, here's a 19 so-and-so, I don't even remember what, I think it was an Estancia cab or something like that. And I was going to open it for him and charge him like $50 for it. And then I realized that he had given it to me and I recovered back very, very quickly. That was one of the most embarrassing moments for me.
That is a great story. Sean, do you have one?
Ooh, like I said, Vikram said you have embarrassing moments.
Yes.
I don't think I've had any worst moments. But yeah, I've definitely, it's always terrible when you spill something on someone, especially as a server or sommelier. I remember even, this is at Midge's, at the beginning when everybody comes in, we all seat everybody and we pass around water to everybody that sits down. And so we're walking around with full trays of water glasses. And the restaurant at Granville was quite tight. There was not a lot of space between tables. And I remember one night this woman came in and sat down, and just as I was walking past, she backed her chair up a little bit and bumped me. And I tipped this whole tray of water glasses over onto her.
Oh no! Wow!
She jumped up like someone had just bitten her, and so shocked. And it was and that's how I started that evening. Hopefully, I don't remember. But I hope the evening got better from there.
Wow. Okay, and we need to heal these memories now. So back to you, Vikram. Your best moment so far. There will be many more, I'm sure, of your career.
I think one of my best moments was a Sunday afternoon like this, and I was at the restaurant, and I don't take reservations at the restaurant, and I really, have stuck to that principle of no reservations. And an older gentleman walked in with a little cane in his hand, and another younger gentleman on his arm walked into the restaurant. And then the whole restaurant went pin drop silence, and they all turned around to see who this person was, which everybody recognized. But if I was going to give up my principles of no reservations, it was Pierre Elliott Trudeau that just walked in with Justin Trudeau. into the restaurant.
Oh, wow.
Everybody saw. And I went up to him and I said, Mr. Trudeau, there's a 20-minute wait for a table. He said, that's okay. He went to the back, he waited, he got a table, he ate. Justin was there, Pierre-Éliott Trudeau was there. And as they were leaving, I went up to him and I touched his feet. And in India, when you touch somebody's feet, it's a form of respect, a huge respect. And I said, Mr. Trudeau, I just want to say it was your policies in the 1960s that allowed immigrants like me to come into this great country called Canada and be successful at what we do.
Wow.
And he picked me up and he kind of gave me a big hug and said, oh, I've had Indian food lots of places. This was absolutely delicious.
Oh, fantastic.
And you have to understand, this was Pierre-Éliott Trudeau, like a quintessential prime minister of this country, had just said to me that that was one of his most delicious Indian food memories.
What a great story.
I just buckled. I couldn't believe it. I just went home and poured myself a large glass of wine and I just gulped it down. And let the effect of the wine go through my body.
Fantastic. Oh, lovely. Sean.
Wow. Let's see, one of the best moments. So 2 years ago, we did that party, the New Year's party. Right?
Yes.
At the restaurant? Okay, so 2 years ago, just as we were moving restaurants, we moved from our Granville location to the Cambie location. But we still had the old restaurant and we were still using it. We figured, well, we're not going to be open at Cambie Street, so we might as well throw a party. So we threw a New Year's party at the old Granville space. And we invited some of our best guests and close friends and family to enjoy Vikram's food. And we had a big, I think it was a 9-liter bottle of Moet champagne that we were going to pour at midnight as a toast.
That's a party.
It's a big bottle to pour. That's a lot. It's heavy. And so we had to decant the wine out of the bottle and then pour it into flutes and pass it around the room. And it's getting close to midnight and not everybody has sparkling wine in their hands, and we're running around. We've poured all this sparkling wine and we're passing around to each person, and time's ticking down, and it's 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds to midnight. And I put the last glass of champagne down on someone's table, and I had 1 glass of champagne left in my hand on my tray. And I turned around and the clock struck midnight and everybody raised their glass and I'm just standing there. I'm like, oh, I get to drink champagne too. So
nice timing.
Everybody, but it was just so perfect, and it was great to see everybody enjoying the atmosphere of the party and getting to spend that New Year's Eve together was really special. So,
sometimes life just works out and everything clicks and comes together. Oh, that's fantastic. Jessica Luongo, wonderful story, Vikram. Mark Lay, love the stories. I have goosebumps. And highest honor to touch someone's feet. Very gracious, Vikram. Okay. Excellent. So we should get into a little bit of this food and wine pairing. I've been teasing so long here. Where would you like to start, gentlemen? Which pairing would you like to start with? Which wine and what would you?
Let's talk about the Contratto.
Yes.
Okay. So the sparkling.
So we've got some traditional method sparkling wine. This was made by the Contratto family.
You want to hold it close to the camera?
Sure.
Yeah. And we'll post these later, but yes, Contratto.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Contratto, this is their For England sparkling wine. It's made from Pinot Noir. And it's a bone dry sparkling wine made in a traditional method. So offers fantastic value as opposed to champagne, which is pricey because of the limited area and the prestige involved. I see you have your bottle of sparkling wine.
I'll just hold this up in honor of you folks. It's a BC.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Blue Mountain Brew. I love it. It's only $30 and it's classic method traditional as well. It's so good.
Absolutely.
So talk about Blue Mountain. I just have to tell a quick story about Blue Mountain.
Sure.
I love Blue Mountain and Jane and Ian for years. When I first opened the restaurant up, Jane was very, very picky about where she wanted her wines to be.
Okay.
She said, okay, just go out and buy it. And I wanted to have a Pinot Gris and a Pinot Blanc. And I remember to this day, I called her up and said, I used to work at Rain City Grill. Now I've opened up my own restaurant up. Can I put your wine on the wine list? Now, most wineries would be so happy that you're going to buy their wine and put it on the wine list. Guess what she did? She asked me to write a little essay why I want my food to be paired with her wine.
That's
And I
great.
write a little one-page letter to her to say that this is what I need to do. And then she allocated me some wine. So I have highest respect for Jane and Ian at Blue Mountain, and obviously now the kids have taken over, running of the wineries, and they've done a fantastic job.
I know, I love their wines. The whole lineup from Pinot Noir to Chardonnay to the sparkling, they're just top notch.
Yeah.
Really superb. So, Sean, what do you think we should be pairing with these sparkling wines?
Well, when you're talking about sparkling wine, there's a couple of things that really make it stand out. The bubbles. The bubbles are the most important part. And with our food especially, and with a lot of spicier dishes, the cleansing effect of bubbles is basically what you're getting when you drink a beer. That refreshment, that cleansing of the palate, that ability to go back for another bite and another sip again and again is really important, because otherwise you get weighted down. You have all of this spice and fat and heaviness, and you don't want that. You want things to remain light and fresh. So sparkling wine can work as a great pair for anything that's been pan fried or deep fried, anything that's heavy in fat. Indian food's not low calorie, as we know. So any of our dishes that are done with rich cream sauces or anything like that, sparkling wine has great acidity to cut through that fat.
It does.
So those are all really important factors in how to pair these wines with our food. And it works as a great pair for a lot of the dishes on the menu.
And I personally love the vegetative characteristics of any old world style of bubble, because I think when you get those tones of bell peppers and ripe vegetables, that's what comes from a delicious bubble. I just think it works really well with the rich tomato, creamy style gravies, eggplants.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a perfect pairing.
And do you think spice and heat somehow change the taste or how we perceive sparkling wine at all?
I don't think it changes it. I just think the idea should be is that you take a sip of your wine and it's tasty, and you take a bite of your food and that's delicious. And that's the pairing it should be. One should not overpower. The food should not overpower the wine, and the wine should not overpower the food either. So, I mean, it's just a classic match. It's like just go and have fun with it. It depends what you feel like and what you enjoy.
Absolutely. And I find sparkling wine is probably the most food-friendly wine on the planet. So anything that challenges wine, an egg-based dish, quiche, artichoke, asparagus, all of these really challenging foods, sparkling wine, they meet their match. And it's just, as you said, Sean, it's the acidity, it's the bubbles, and it's that cleansing power, like an ocean
Texture
brine.
as well is great, especially when you get into really textured things like mushrooms and eggplant.
Yes.
Talking about mushrooms, we just did this book called Krug as a book, and they find out one ingredient, and we chose mushrooms this year.
Okay.
And I had done my homework and realized that Leonard Cohen, who's a quintessential Canadian poet, loved to drink a bottle of champagne before he went onto stage because
Wow.
he enjoyed it. So I actually made a mushroom pizza where I show that he's eaten it a little bit. He's had a bottle of champagne,
Yes.
and his pen is sitting right there. And I wrote a poetry, and it's a beautiful photograph. And I think Krug's done a fantastic job of that. My point is,
Yeah.
anything that's old world with earthy tones goes really well.
Oh, wow. No wonder Cohen was so fluid, shall we say, on stage. The lyrics just flowed. I think that bottle of Krug was probably helping, or champagne, I should say.
Yeah.
Excellent. Laurie Kilmartin, I'm having a glass of sparkling wine right now, pre-dinner aperitif. De Cassaday's Cuvée from Cassaday in Prince Edward County, Ontario.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and JP D'Entremont. Enzymes in dairy reacts with hot spices and counters or neutralizes. Do certain wines have similar enzymes? That's a technical question, but
You're getting technical on me.
Wow.
I don't know the actual chemical breakdowns. I know that there's a big difference between the spice that you get, say, in like Thai food versus Indian spices. Because of the fat, because of the cream, that does tend to lower the intensity. It gives you this slower burn, this deep kind of warming spice versus the mouth intense hot spice that you can get from Thai or Mexican food.
Okay.
And those could be more challenging.
Yeah.
Those kinds of cuisines definitely have their hard edges that are a little bit harder to work with.
Sure.
But as we get into talking about other pairings, you'll see some things that you can do to kind of work through those.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Carrie McDonald, Trius is an amazing sparkler for $30 in Ontario. JP, again, wine and food is not only about the taste and aroma, but the experiences, and you both shared great experiences. I agree, JP.
Thanks, JP.
So are there any wines that really are a disaster with spicy or hotter dishes?
A disaster?
Or don't
My theory has been, I don't think there are many sommeliers in the world or many people in this world who can, after having, taken a bite of a chicken curry or a lamb curry, can say, oh my God, I'm having a 1965 Silver Oak Cab. It's a little tough. Your palate has to be really sophisticated. So I think that the disaster would be is if you're buying really old wine at that old value and expecting that to pair beautifully with Indian food. Because classically, Indian food is not paired with wine.
Right.
The New World works really, really well with it. But having said that, it doesn't mean that the great Burgundies or great Bordeaux or any other place or Italians don't work with Indian food. They do. I just think the vintage becomes slightly less relevant, especially if you're pairing it. Enjoy it, but don't try to pair it.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't necessarily work with anything that is too subtle, that's too elegant. Indian food is robust, it's loud, it's energetic, it's out there. And so wines that have those characteristics are also a good match. Anything that's going to be too subtle, too lean and crisp. You don't want anything that's going to hide. You want something that's going to show itself and be a little bit more exuberant.
Right. Good advice. Is there anything more you want to say about the sparkling wine and spicy food pairing?
Well, the only thing I would say is I was in South Africa last year, and obviously South Africa produces beautiful, great, sparkling whites from Chenin or from Pinot Noirs as well, some great ones. So I was at a winery. I was staying there. I had a fabulous time. We had some wine. And, we were all sitting around, and then all of us kind of left our room and went back to bed. And I was supposed to brush my teeth. And I felt that it would be so wrong because there was this much sparkling left in the bottle. And I was like, it's just such a sin to waste this beautiful. So I actually put that little bit of bubble on my toothbrush and I brushed my teeth with champagne because I didn't want it to go waste.
I think there's a new branding opportunity there. We got Sensodyne, but this is a whole lot more interesting as toothpaste or some product. Yeah, that's right.
No, I didn't use the toothpaste. I just used
the champagne. Yeah.
I was like, why should I let it go waste? I used it and I gargled my mouth with it and it was delicious.
That's fun. What a fun idea. I got to try that. Excellent. Okay. All right. Alan Cameron, best pairing is Vidge and Sean. So very nice one, Alan.
Thank you. Humbled. Thank you.
Okay. Dave Head, first world problems pairing spicy food and wine. Okay. Yes, I know, Dave.
I wish more people would drink sparkling wine throughout the meal.
Yes, exactly.
Start off with it because it does work so well with so many different foods.
It does. And everybody just thinks it's for toasting or at the beginning or just an aperitif, but you can drink this. And the beauty of it is it's got lots of flavor and zest, but it's also low alcohol. So, it's a nice way of pacing throughout a holiday meal or any meal really.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be asleep on the sofa at 7. So, it's quite nice that way. 12% is usually where the alcohol clocks in at for most sparklers.
Yeah, right on.
Okay. All right, let us move on. Let me just take a moment to say, if you've just joined us here, you're here in the Sunday Sipper Club, where we gather every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern, Toronto, New York time, to talk to the most intriguing people in the wine and food world. like Vikram Vij and Sean Nelson from Vij's Restaurant in Vancouver, who are sharing their tips on pairing spicy wine and food. So please post your comments below if you've got questions. Let us know. And also take a moment to share this video. If you're enjoying this conversation, please do share it and make a comment with your share. That lets other people know about this conversation, which always helps. And there's something in it for you as well. We will be, at the end of this video, drawing for a personally signed copy of Laura Werland's book on cheeses. She was our guest last week. And if you share now this one, you'll be eligible to win one of Vikram Vij's cookbooks, personally signed as well. And that's quite a treat. So, all right, gentlemen, what do we have next for pairing? Which wine and which direction are we going?
All right, now we're getting into fun stuff because this is one of Vikram and my favorite wines, favorite styles of wine, favorite grapes. Now we're doing
Riesling. Yay, Riesling.
Yes.
Okay.
So Riesling is such a versatile grape, and you've got yours as well, so that's fantastic.
I do. I have the Kung Fu girl from Washington
Yes.
State, off-dry Riesling.
So we are doing the St. Urbanshof Nick Weiss Selection Urban
good.
from the Mosel in Germany.
Awesome.
So Riesling can be made in so many different styles. You can have bone dry, crisp Riesling. There's Riesling sparkling wine. If you go to Germany, you can get Sekt. And then you can have sweeter styles of Riesling moving into off-dry, medium dry, and even dessert wines. So because it's so versatile, it plays that way with food as well. Bone dry Rieslings can work really well in place of stuff like sparkling wine, where you need to cut through that fattiness, the richness of fried foods or cream or anything heavy. If you have a wine that's got a little bit of sweetness like this one does, you can play it off of things that have some chili, have some extra spice, have a little bit of heat that needs taming. The best thing about this wine is that it's not just about the sugar, it's also about the acidity. It's about how it balances itself. It walks this tightrope of sweetness and acidity that keeps it very, very fresh and very balanced. And a lot of people talk about Gewürztraminer as a pairing for spicy food.
That's true.
And while Gewürztraminer has one side of that tightrope, it has the sweetness, it has the aromatics, it doesn't always have enough acidity to play off of that sweetness. So I generally find Riesling to be a better pair for more spicy dishes, more complexity and freshness than Gewürztraminer or other aromatic whites with sweetness.
That's an excellent point, Sean, because I think Gewürz, if I'm not mistaken, translates to spice. And so we always think spice wine. It's the default over and over again. But you're right. There's an edginess, a raciness to Riesling that isn't always there with Gewürztraminer. And I would think, it makes a much better pairing.
That's not to say that Gewürztraminer can't pair with spicy food.
Yeah.
I have some Gewürztraminer at the restaurant, and there's some that are just outstanding. But it has to be handled carefully. It has to be managed and made to work with food.
Sure, absolutely.
And having studied in Austria and Germany and worked there, obviously you're biased with both of the Gruner Veltliners and the Rieslings, because your first taste of wines is coming from there. You know, the Gruner Veltliners, and when you taste them, you're like, now I understand. Or the Rieslings from Austria or from Germany.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at these wines, I think what I love about these wines again is that you can drink a full bottle of it and feel totally fine because it doesn't tire your palate.
No,
You
it's
don't
true.
feel that mouth feel as if like, oh my God, my palate is tired. And that sometimes can be a little overpowering and overbearing, because when your palate gets tired, you become a little lethargic. And this way, this wine will keep you fresh
It does.
and wanting more, and not feel like I'm feeling a little overwhelmed by my palate.
Exactly. You know, and I was just reading with like a tannic wine, which like a tannic Cabernet, which I would think would be one of the less good wines to pair with Indian cuisine. Every sip dries your mouth out further because the tannins are taking the proteins out of your saliva and you know, agglomerating or coming together. So your first sip is drying, your second sip is more drying, and it keeps going and going. Whereas this is just mouth-watering and juicy and giving, like to your point, Vikram.
So true.
Yeah. So what do we put with this, gentlemen, this Riesling?
We have a fantastic dish on the menu
Okay.
that's been there. I think it's one of the original dishes, the jackfruit.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is it's a tomato curry made with black cardamom and cumin. So you get this deep, rich, smoky tomato curry. There's a roasted jackfruit heart, which for anybody that hasn't had young jackfruit, the texture of it's kind of like an artichoke heart.
Yeah.
It's this slightly fibrous vegetable. Works really well to take on all the flavor of that sauce. And then we top it with a little bit of pickled ginger and chilies. So it has some heat, it has some spice, a little bit of that snap. And Riesling works great to both tame the chili, to pair with the elements that smoke and spice from the ginger, and to keep it refreshing.
Wow. And so, yeah, go ahead.
Jackfruit is a typical, Southeast Asian kind of a fruit. So the texture is not like, it almost tastes like meat. So if you're a vegetarian and don't want to eat meat, you would eat a jackfruit because it has the texture. So that mouth feel of that, the beautiful acidity that comes from the ginger and the smokiness that comes from the black cardamom just pairs really well with a Riesling.
Wow. The wine and the food descriptions make my mouth water. You're doing your job. Ian Brow says, hi, buddy. He knows one of you, or maybe both, from Britain, it looks like. Beverly Aslison says, so your recommendation is white wines for spicy foods. Well, we're going to get to a red, Beverly. Hold that thought. And Deandra knows Ian, so they're talking amongst themselves now. Lori Kilmartin, do you ever have more white than red, lots of sparkling? Oh, on your list. Would you say the balance of your list is more whites and sparklings than reds?
No, actually.
No? Okay.
I think it's pretty equal.
Okay.
We do have a large selection of reds as well. It's pretty tame. We have about 120 selections on our wine list right now.
Okay.
And yeah, about half and half are white and red, and then we've got about 20 sparkling wines, 15 sparkling wines, and then a couple of rosés as well, 5 to 10 rosés. So.
Wow, beautiful.
See, when you make a wine list up, you don't just say, I'm going to only have white or only have red, because everybody's palate is different.
Sure.
I mean, the beautiful part about life is that this is a democracy of palates.
Nice way to put it.
You want, however you want it. So somebody might just say, I want a white Chateauneuf de Pape. I want a New World, Syrah from Paso Robles, for example. Some people want that, and you should totally be there. Who are you to judge and say, no, this doesn't work with everything else? So you pair wines, or you put wines on the list that pleases everybody.
Sure, absolutely. Great. So how many wines by the glass, Sean? Sam Hawk is asking. He gave me a pronunciation.
Right now, wines by the glass, I think we have 7 whites by the glass, and then 8 reds, and then 4 sparkling.
That's really impressive.
5 sparkling. My mistake. We have 5 sparkling. So we're really trying to push that. We do everything from Prosecco for $12.50 a glass to the Contratto, which we have for $17. We have a Reserve Blue Mountain Brut that we do by the glass, as well as Moet Champagne and Krug as well. We pour by the glass. Basically at cost, we would really like people to experience what Krug is and how it is the king of champagnes and is a leader in the champagne world. And it's great with our food. It's not cheap. But to go out and buy a bottle is almost $300, or you can have a glass at the restaurant for $50. So
yeah, it's an amazing wine. Wow, these comments are going by too quickly for me to read them, but I'm just going to acknowledge a little bit here because they're getting going. Rick says, in my glass tonight, I'm enjoying a Gruner Veltliner from Arcane Cellars in Oregon. Good.
Oh, beautiful.
Carrie McDonald, who does work in a liquor store, she said it's all about your personal palate. Theandra says, great Rieslings, Montepulcianos, Bordolinos, reds with a touch of funk, all old world pairings. Wow, you really know your wines. Okay, and Lee says, any Canadian sparklings on the menu? Well, they did mention Blue Mountain Leaves.
Yeah.
Don't know if you have any others, or if you're able to
The
get
other
Ontario?
Canadian sparklings right now. No, we don't have anything from Ontario. We've had the Benjamin Bridge
Oh, yes, from Nova
wines
Scotia.
from Nova
Yeah.
Scotia as well in the past. The selection of Ontario wines in British Columbia is a little bit limited.
Sure.
There's some interprovincial trade
Yep.
kind of boundaries there. But there is some great BC sparklings available as
Yeah.
well. So.
And at my third restaurant, My Shanti, I have Blue Mountain by the glass available there, and I do a fantastic job. Sipes does a fantastic job as well. So, again, the idea is that there is great BC wines available, or Canadian wines available to us in this country.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Okay. All right. So we've dealt with the Riesling. Now let's move on to a red. Someone was asking, or a number of people were asking about red. So which reds are we?
All right. So what we've got that we're doing is a New World Syrah.
Yes.
So this is, let's see if I can get some light that doesn't
Vieux
show.
Pin.
Le Vieux Pin. This is their Cuvée Violette Syrah.
Okay.
So this is an aromatic, spicy, floral, fruit-forward New World Syrah. Syrah does wonderful things with spicy food.
It does.
It carries some of those spice characters itself. It has some of that pepperiness, that little bit of earthy character, like the cardamom, the black cardamom, the cumin. And then when you throw it up against something that's got a little more weight and structure and spice, it not only elevates both the wine and the food, it also serves to refresh, because Syrah and Shiraz, as we know, tend to be a little bit higher in acidity and freshness. So doing something like this, it has a touch of that smokiness, that peppery, the floral notes. It is just awesome.
Absolutely. And I find the texture of Syrah is so lovely. Like it's like velvet, liquid velvet. It's just fills your mouth, and there's not a lot of the harsh tannins, nothing grippy. Everything's slippery, slidey. It goes down quick.
It's not to say that wines that have tannin don't pair with spicy food. We have everything from New World Pinot Noir all the way up to Barolo on the list. So we have a wide range of styles to suit every person. People will often come into the restaurant and they'll say, well, what wine pairs with Indian food? Well, that's like saying what wine pairs with European food. There's so much variety. There's so many different styles. Even in our limited menu, you can go from deep, rich, smoky tomato curries all the way up to rich, heavy cream. So picking one wine to pair with everything is almost impossible.
Sure.
But if I find one wine that you enjoy and then you have food with it, that's what makes it a great pairing as well. It's about what you want and what you will enjoy and what you want to share with your friends and family.
Absolutely. Now, going back to, you say you have some tannic wines, and they will work with Indian or spicy foods. How does that work? Because I always thought avoid tannic wines altogether.
Right. So the effect of tannins on your mouth, what you were talking about, where they gob onto proteins. Indian food is full of proteins. So throwing this tannic Nebbiolo at something like the braised short rib
yes,
would be awesome, because you have this rich, fatty short rib loin that's been slow braised. It's served in this tomato curry with the grilled kale. And then you have a sip of this rich, spicy, earthy, tannic Nebbiolo. And it dissolves those fatty compounds in the meat. It softens everything.
nice.
The tannins kind of melt away into the meat. The meat melts away into your mouth. And then you take both. And then you can go back for another sip because you've been refreshed again. And you see this line between all of the wines, and that's acidity.
Wow.
Acidity is the key to pairing wine with food. The Italians figured this out a long, long time ago. All of their wines are acid bombs. And
That's true. Yeah.
that is why their wine is so good with food, because that's what they focus on. Wine is food.
Yes, that's true. And now, how about the other challenger, wines with high alcohol? You've got the heat of spice, or not always heat, but when you do have heat and spice, alcohol, isn't that a clash?
Sometimes it depends on how the wine carries the alcohol.
It just tires your palate out faster. I mean, is it something wrong? I mean, if you find your palate being tired of having a heavy duty, either a Syrah or a Petit Verdot style, those are heavy, or Tannant style, those really jammy style wines, and you want to have it, then your palate will get tired. But I mean, who's stopping you from enjoying it? I think it's that world makes that kind of wine, and that's the style behind it. Or if you're having Petit Syrah from Paso Robles, like any of those regions which are like super hot, you're going to find the wines at 14.5, almost 15% high in alcohol, and those are you literally can only have one glass of it, because after that your palate is going to get tired.
Sure.
But nobody's to say that they don't care. They care really well. I mean, I think this was last year, we were invited to cook for the Royals at Mission Hill. And, when we got the call to say, you're going to be one of the chefs that's going to be invited to cook for the Royals, you have to understand, as an Indian, when you've been ruled for 200 years, you have a little chip over your shoulder. So you decide to say something you're going to say something like really something that's going to say something to her that every paparazzi was there. I was like, I'm going to say something subtle like, thanks for leaving India or something like this. In my mind, I'm like, I'm going to say something really that had you not left India, I would have never ended up in this great country called Canada. Like, just all these things are going in my mind. And obviously when Kate and William, they come towards my table, and she's so nice and friendly that I just literally melted like butter. Oh, she was so nice and friendly. And, she had a glass of wine. They had, Mission Hill wine, and I made some lamb popsicles for them, and then they absolutely enjoyed it.
And that hit the media, your lamb popsicles, because she loved them so much? Is that?
She loved them so much, and the part was that I had done some homework and found out that on the wedding night, that was the main course that was served to the guests that day. So I said that to both of them, and they were very friendly and very nice. Now, you have to understand, she's a commoner, so she's had Indian food before.
Okay.
I don't think he's had much of Indian food before. So as soon as I gave him the lamb popsicles and he ate it, like his face just went like red because of the spices that had gone in there. And he just went like, whoa, this is delicious. And then he took a little sip of the wine and then just enjoyed it. My first reaction was, I got you, just as a joke in my own mind. But it was beautiful, so it was also the moment we were there. It was nice. It was a gorgeous sunny day where you are. So the surroundings mean so much. If you're drinking a nice glass of red wine and there's a fireplace going on and it's cozy and comfortable and you're having comfort Indian food, then that's the feeling that you're going to get.
Absolutely. Heather Proctor has joined us as well, and so we are already at the 10 to the, even shorter than that, 10 to the hour. And yes, it has flown by like this. You guys are amazing. I know. It's incredible. I want to ask you a few more questions before we wrap this up. To each of you, starting with you, Sean, if you could share a bottle of wine with anyone, living or dead, who would that be and why?
Living or I think if I was going to share a bottle of wine with anybody, it would be my great-grandfather.
Oh, yeah?
He passed away when I was about 14, 15.
Oh, wow.
So I never got to be an adult with him. And he's such an inspiration. He was born in Cornwall. He came over to Canada as a young boy, and he established himself here. He started a number of companies in British Columbia, and he worked through a very challenging period in the growth of this country. And I would love to hear some of his stories as an adult, and to be able to share a moment with him back and forth, have some wine, tell him about what I'm doing and how passionate I am about the things that I love. That would be really awesome.
That's lovely. Vikram?
And I think I would not want to share a glass of wine with him, because that man doesn't drink. But so what I would do is I would give him a cup of chai.
Okay.
And his name is Gandhi. I would love to meet Gandhi one day.
Yes.
I would hold a glass of wine, because I know he would not judge me for holding a glass of wine. But I would make him a cup of chai and give it to him. And I would love to listen to him and say, what motivated you to free India, to go through so much hardship in a loincloth, and why does money not motivate you, and how he single-handedly changed a course of a nation and the legacy that he has left behind. If I could be part of that thought process, I would love to sit down with him and have some chai and some wine with him.
Wow, I'll drink to that. I'll drink to both your memories.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Yes.
So go ahead. And now as we wrap up, is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to mention as we come to a close here?
I think one of the things I really want to mention is that butter chicken is not both Indian cuisine.
No. Okay.
It is just one dish. It's like saying croque monsieur or French onion soup is French cooking, or steak frites is French cooking. There's so much more to Indian food. Travel to India, go to Southeast Asia, and see what a great country, and the spices and their permutations and combinations. I was just in Vietnam 3 years ago, and honestly, the young chefs over there are pairing great burgundies, even though they're slightly cooked, because by the time it gets to Vietnam, they have the beautiful young yellow golden straw color, which it's because of the heat.
Yes.
By the time it goes there, it's just aged a little bit faster. But they're pairing it with bugs, they're pairing it with tarantulas, and they're pairing it with those beautiful little things that they eat, and it's incredible to taste. I mean, I had a cockroach, and the guy had a pairing of deep fried cockroach with beautiful flavors, and I was like, wow. So go and travel to these third world countries, or countries that are developing, basically, not third world anymore, and experience their side of food and wine pairings. You'll be impressed to come back and say, wow, the total different way of thinking.
Yeah, I've got to try that tarantula with mature burgundy. That's an interesting match.
Okay.
All right, Sean, anything else you want to mention?
I just think that people should just take into consideration the experimentation, and that's been some of the most fun in the time that I've spent at Vidges, is getting to try things, getting to throw something new out there. And unexpected pairings are always the most fun. When you get a dish and you're like, I want to try something like this. I had a sherry ambassador come into the restaurant, and she brought a bunch of sherry, and that's not something that you're thinking about. And one in particular was a PX sherry. So it was a sweet sherry made from Pedro Ximénez, and it had very rich, deep, dark flavors and a lot of sweetness. And I said, let me try something. And I brought them a little plate of our venison, which is done with a date tamarind chutney.
Gorgeous.
And grilled vegetables that has this smokiness. You would never think to pair a sweet sherry with a meaty venison loin, but the fact that it had this sauce with the tamarind and the dates, the sweetness balanced it, and it made for a fantastic pairing. So just go out on a limb, try something new. If you think it might work, then try it and see what happens. And then go and tell your friends, and come into the restaurant and tell me about a thing that you had that you really loved, and I'll see if I can do something fun for you as well.
Fantastic. Yes, and we should all go to Vidges Restaurant in Vancouver. What's the website? Is it vidges.com or?
Vidges.ca.
.ca.
Vidges.ca is
so
the
check
restaurant.
that out. So whenever you're in Vancouver, or for those of you who are tuning in from Vancouver, go. I'm going to go. I've got to make the Mecca, the journey.
Awesome.
This was such a great conversation. The comments and the love is pouring in here for you guys. Such a great educational, but also very entertaining. The stories were amazing. I thank you both. Vikram, Sean, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we'll bid adieu and good night to you now. I'm going to stay online, folks, but all the best for you both for everything that you're working on.
Great. Thank you so much.
Namaste.
Really appreciate
Okay,
it.
And namaste to all the young chefs. Be the mentors to the young people. Let them experience great food and great wine. We in Canada are a culinary destination.
Yes.
We have what it takes. let's make sure that the world knows that we are a culinary destination.
All right.
Awesome.
All right. Rallying cry at the end there. Cheers
Thank
to
you.
you both.
Cheers.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right, folks, I'm going to stay on here a little longer with you all. And Leela, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Kathy Nelson, excellent. One of your best shows ever. Thank you, Sam. The guests make the show, I gotta say. Really, the content and the stories, that's all them. So I'm glad you're enjoying it. So, folks, I am going to do that draw, so don't leave yet to find out who won from last week for a personally signed copy of Laura Werland's book about cheeses. So that is coming up. If you have any suggestions for future guests, right now I've got booked to the end of, mid-December. I'll be taking a week or two off for Christmas, but I'm lining up the new year. And the earlier I contact people, the better the guests I get. I love to do this way in advance now. So please post if you've got people you'd like to suggest. So let me know tonight, what was the most interesting thing you learned during our conversation? What little tidbit did you pick up and did you enjoy and found that really, you were surprised or anything? Please post. Finally, if you would share this video, let everyone know about this because I think it was fun, it's educational, and next week you could be winning a personally signed copy of Vikram Vij's cookbook. Beautiful cookbook, I must say. He'll be sending that directly to you. All right, now let me, okay, they're gone, we're here. Drum roll, please. Okay, so the winner from last week, Laura Werland's book on cheeses, is, you ready? Lou Michel. Lou Michel, and I think Lou is here tonight. Yes, you just posted with a lot of emojis. So Lou, you were already happy. Now you must be happier. So email me if I don't have your email address, Lou, and I'll connect you with Laura because she's going to send you that book directly. So I'm Natalie@nataliemaclean.com for my email address. All righty, folks. Well, as always, that was super fun. So I will see you next week. Next week's guest, I should tell you, is Mike Veseth. He's called the Wine Economist, but please don't let that scare you. He is not dry. It is not all about numbers. He has some fascinating insights on wine, not just the pricing of wine and market trends, but he's also just published a book called Around the World in 80 Wines, where he travels and he follows a journey. Great writer, really great writer. Lots of stuff coming up with him next week. So please come back here, 6 p.m. Eastern, Toronto, New York time, every Sunday, Sunday Sipper Club. If you're watching the replay, you can still post comments below. We will jump in and answer them. You can still share and qualify to win because we don't do that draw till next week for the cookbook, Vij's cookbook. So good night. Lou is happy. Good night to you all. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you folks being here. It is the highlight of my week. And we have such a merry band who comes into this virtual wine bar every Sunday night where we gather. It's so much fun. And I look forward to seeing you again next Sunday, guys. Take care.